Christianity in Blue Jeans. We are in the letter of James, and we are in chapter 5. Look here, you rich people. Weep and groan with anguish because of all the terrible troubles ahead of you. There are Christian people that are rich, and for that we're thankful. But there are many self-centered, wealthy individuals. That's who James is talking about. I remember a story of Hetty Green. You can look it up on the internet. Hetty Green was a very, very wealthy woman, but she was very frugal. I mean, to the extreme. So much so that she would give a nickel to her son to go out and buy a newspaper, and then he would bring it back and she would read it. And then she'd fold it back up and give it to him. He would go out and resell it so that she could get her money back. I heard that her son had an injury and she was too cheap to take him to the hospital because she didn't want to pay some extreme hospital bill, even though she had much, much money. She was very frugal. This passage of the rich is warning them not to be selfish. Your wealth is rotting away, and your fine clothes are moth-eaten rags. Your gold and your silver have become worthless or corroded. What James is saying here is everything that you value is going to be devalued in time, deteriorate. Everything that you think is so important will eventually be moth-eaten or corroded. It seems like if you go out and buy a new car, the very day you buy it, it starts to decline. It gets nicks and scratches and a ping on the windshield, and that new car already has been devalued and has begun to corrode. Well, the truth is, all these material things that sometimes we put too much stock in are decaying and corroding. Well, he says here, your gold and silver have become worthless. The very wealth you were counting on will eat away your flesh like fire. This treasure you have accumulated will stand as evidence against you on the day of judgment. What are you trusting in? Your bank account or God? If you are hoarding and have a greedy attitude, this will not bring God's blessing. If God has blessed you with extra, God will also bless you as you share it with others in need. This treasure you have accumulated will stand as evidence against you on the day of judgment. For listen, hear the cries of the field workers whom you have cheated of their pay. The wages you held back cry out against you. The psalm writer in Psalm 73 takes this same kind of concept. Sometimes we think in the world that you and I live in, we want to say, God, don't you think Christians are kind of getting a bum rap? I see non-Christians that are living high off the hog. I see my neighbors living in luxury and they don't even go to church on Sunday. But the writer in Psalm 73 says, but you're only seeing the now. You don't see the end. You don't see their demise. You don't see the eternal destiny. And then the psalm writer says this, then when I saw God and their eternal destiny, I got a correct perspective. And sometimes that's what we need in our spiritual journey, to just time with God to get the right perspective. And so James is warning these wealthy, self-centered people not to trust in their riches, but rather to trust in God, and to make sure that they pay a decent wage to those who work under them. You see, God is concerned about our money. He's concerned how we earn our money. He's concerned how we spend our money. He's concerned how we give our money. God is concerned about money matters, but He's also concerned with the matter of the heart. What are you placing your faith in? What are you trusting, or who are you trusting? Well, he says here in these passages. The cries of those who harvest your fields have reached the ears of the Lord of the heaven's armies. Heaven's armies. There is a Lord of heaven's armies. God is a champion of the poor. It is true that sometimes when you have less, you need to depend on God more. And so God is the champion for the poor. What really counts in our life? Somebody said, what counts is not what we have, but what has us. An important principle to ponder. Not what we have, but what has us. In the scriptures we are looking at, verses 1 through 6 of chapter 5, it's not only talking about the wealthy, but it's talking about poverty as well. That we ought to have compassion and help others who are in need around us. If we have it within our means, we ought to help others. The monster of the more in our society is greed, and we have to ask ourselves, what do we trust in? Notice verse 5. You have spent your years on earth in luxury. Self, self, self. You've been satisfying your every desire. You have fattened yourselves for the day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed innocent people who do not resist you. They couldn't resist because they couldn't afford a lawyer. And so the rich abused, oppressed the poor. Well, these are important verses for our day. And if you want to live very practical Christianity in blue jeans, then your checkbook will be evidence of that. Your credit card bill will be evidence of that. May you take thought of those who have less around you. And when it's in your power, help others in need. May God bless you and keep you.